Hello, Alan Matthews here, and you have made it all the way to number 7. You have gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and now here we are at big number 7, the last and final of our videos in this set. And so by now, you are pretty well knowledgeable about this little chunk of music that we've been looking at. And it might be that the one that we've been looking at, you might even have it memorized and be able to play it yourself without even having practiced it before, just because we've looked at it in so many ways. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Quick recap. We start off with little sections. We then look at all the notes and the musical markings, make sure we know everything about this piece of music in that little chunk, all the words, all the dots, all the everything, all the notes. And then we look at the rhythm. We make sure that we're super solid on the rhythm. We know exactly how we want to inflect it. If it's a dance, we know how we're going to punch it over here and do all that. We want to actually make it as lively as possible within that rhythm to the best of our ability, wherever that is. Now, then we look at the right hand by itself, all of its fingerings. We look at the left hand, look at all of its fingerings. We put them together. We talked about aim-directed movement or goal-directed movement and how to practice slowly so that you're making no mistakes whatsoever. You're just doing it absolutely perfectly, but taking corrective pauses. And now we can actually come to putting it all into time. And this is really exciting. And it might be that you just jumped, and if it's an easy enough piece of music for you, you may have skipped number 5 and just were playing it in time already. That's fine so long as everything stayed absolutely the way that you want it. So long as the right hand fingering maintained its integrity, the left hand fingering maintained its integrity. So long as everything's kosher, then it's okay to do that. But otherwise, aim-directed movement, goal-directed movement, making sure everything is absolutely flawless, exactly like you want it. Don't let yourself get away with anything. And now we come to putting it in time. And this is an interesting thing because oftentimes our sense of what is in time is very skewed. I have a student who is convinced that things are in time, and she'll count something like this right here. Let's say we have this rhythm 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and let's just say that that's the rhythm. And sometimes she'll do this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and she's completely convinced that that is in time, even though from you sitting right there, you can know that that's not in time. I just slowed down for the eighth notes at the end of the bar. She thinks that it's in time, but it's not in time. And we're oftentimes wrong. There's a great TED Talk on being wrong. You can Google it. A really, really great TED Talk on being wrong from TED.com. But that's neither here nor there. The main point is that we have some sort of way of objectively saying, this is definitely in time. And how do we do that? We use a metronome. And it's a great thing to do. There are drawbacks to metronomes, but it's a tool. Just like any other tool, it has its use. And as long as you use it for what it's intended for, it's great. If you try to use it for what it's not intended for, it's not going to be the best result. And so there it is. So let's look at how to play with a metronome. So when working on the metronome, working with the metronome, the main thing is that we listen to the metronome. Yes, we've got all this other kind of stuff going on. We've got certain notes up here. We've got our this hand and our this hand and our rhythm and our dynamics. And we've got all this kind of stuff going on, yes? But that's not the point. When we're working with the metronome, the point is to listen to the metronome. It's a total ear game. The tendency with most people is to do this. So I'm just going to take this on. This is at 64 beats per minute. And they say, okay, got it. And then they start playing, and then in a minute, then they'll notice they're completely off from the metronome if they do. And then they'll reset and re-get onto it. That's not the way to play with the metronome. The way to play with the metronome is to listen to every single click. So you are so clued in to that beat that is the only thing that's happening in the world. And this stuff, it'll come naturally. If you are truly listening to this thing and just intending to play with it, you will lock up with it. The main thing is that your ear is completely right there. So whenever you're actually playing with this, I'm just going to play this along with the metronome. And this, I'm just going to call this eighth note. So it's nice and slow. We want to start very much slower than we need to. And then we can always just bump it up. So this would be 1 and 2 and here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and so the main thing is that we are just listening like crazy. I know I've already said that 20 times, but I'm going to say it 21. Listen. That's all that it is to the metronome. When you're playing with the metronome, it'll get incredibly aggravating if it's just this thing clicking over in the side of your head. That's just annoying. We don't want to just play along with something annoying. We want to actually use it as a tool, which means use it in real time, which means listen to it. And so that's how to use a metronome right there. Another quick thing. After you get using the metronome, after you can do it with the metronome, a fun thing that you can do is go on to your, like a garage band or something like that, and put in a drum beat to it. And it would be tricky with this one because this is in 3/4 and there's not that many stock loops in 3/4. But anyway, you cut it on you could put in a drum beat and then you got, and it just makes it a little bit more fun to play along, especially scales and that sort of stuff. You can use drum beats as a metronome, and that's great for scales, slurs, that kind of technical exercises, arpeggios. It's really fun. Or songs that you've already been through this process and you already know. It can be really fun to play with drums. Awesome. Well, I hope you have enjoyed these 7 videos. I hope you made great use of them in your practice. Remember, the name of the game is patience, and just being where you are when you are there, and expecting only from yourself absolute dedication to exactly what you're doing at that moment. It doesn't matter what you should be doing or what you could be doing. It really only matters that you are doing what it is that you are doing at that time. So if you're on number 3, be on number 3. If you're on number 2, you are doing nothing but looking at the notes and the musical markings. Don't worry about anything else. Just make sure that each one is the end unto itself. Keep with each one absolutely integrally, so that each one is as good as it can be. And then the whole thing will come together. The process will come together, and you will play beautifully, and you'll have your music memorized very quickly and everything. If you try to jump, if you try to move ahead too fast, then you're basically shortchanging yourself, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to omit something. You're going to not notice, oh, I know all the notes and the musical markings. And then all of a sudden you'll come back and there's actually this word down there, or this dynamic marking that you didn't look it up in your dictionary or your, online, whatever. And then you're going to have habits that aren't conducive to the piece, that aren't the best ones that you could have for the piece. So please have patience, practice very well, do good work, keep in touch, and good luck to you. Thanks so much for watching these.